What's up, guys? This is Alex here, back in with another video. As you can see from the background, I just finished editing. So this one's about my trip in Europe. I got back from Europe on the 28th of July. It's been quite a while. It's been a month and a half. After coming back, a lot of things happening here and there, so I don't have a big chunk of time to dive into this video and finish it in one go, but at least I got it done with. Can't wait to drop this video, and I split this video into 3 parts. I got different perspectives, different angles, different topics to talk about, and then I hope you guys enjoy it, and let's get right into it.
Part 1. The Travelers. Traveling is a great way to explore the world, not only because you got to see the local culture and sceneries, but you also meet like-minded people along the way. And to me, I can't tell which one excites me more, the local culture or other travelers' story. I met a lot of people along the way. They came with different stories, backgrounds, and personalities. But what remains the same is that they're all kind people. They're all people who are willing to explore and who are able to appreciate culture diversity and respect others. On the 3rd of July, I flew from JFK, New York and landed in Charles de Gaulle, Paris after 7 hours in the sky. I was staying in a hostel while I was in Paris. It seemed to be a great way to meet people, and the following days proved me right. On the second night, right before I was about to go to bed, another roommate came in, so we started chatting immediately. Well, he led most of the conversation, and just by that, you could already tell that he has done this multiple times before because he was really good at it. He told me his name was Michael, and he's from Los Angeles. He was a chef and cooked in multiple Michelin 3-star restaurants. He told me that the day after was actually his last day in Paris. And he invited me to check out the best bakery in town before he left for his flight. So on the next day, we got up at 6 a.m. and commuted to the bakery. We were chatting all the way and exchanged our stories and experiences. He told me about his world traveling story and all the places he has been to, Europe, Asia, and the US, and how he met some friends along the way and eventually turned to lifelong friends. He also showed me his passion for photography. He was planning to start a photo print business to pursue this love. The time went by fast, and soon he got to go to catch a flight, so he left like he was never there. While I was sitting on a bench on a roadside in a typical morning in Paris, chewing on my thoughts, I realized that was exactly what I wanted. I always knew that I wanted a lifestyle like this, rich in experience, exploring different cultures, and building bonds with the locals. But before this, I never had a clear vision of what exactly would this lifestyle look like. And now I've seen one. I had a living example standing in front of me, telling his story and all the tricks he had to sustain such a lifestyle. But at the same time, I am aware that such a lifestyle is not a fairy tale. The higher it goes, the lower it might fall. A lifestyle like this can be risky and challenging. There must be a lot of sacrifice made to enjoy it. I hope I will have the grit, the wisdom, and perhaps some luck to pursue such a lifestyle. We'll see. And besides Michael, there are a lot of other great people I met along the way, like the sweet couple, Paris and Ziba. They're from Iran, but now they're living in Milan. Ziba has 2 master's degrees and Paris is doing a PhD. We met under the Eiffel Tower, and surprisingly, we ran into each other again at the Palace of Versailles on the very next day. And who would have thought that we would run into each other one more time after I traveled to Milan? Man, how crazy it was. That's when you realize that we're living in such a big and small world. While I was studying in Italy with my classmates, we met some Polish. There were 3 beautiful Polish girls and a guy named Frank. Man, he knows everything. We met each other at the bar while we were watching the Euro final game. We talked about sports, politics, and history. He knows so much about China, both good and bad. He knows about our economy, history, and politics. I would say an average Chinese might not exceed his knowledge and understanding of China. I was shocked and very impressed. And while I was in Switzerland, I met Kirtan. He's from India, but works in Hong Kong currently. He had been to a lot of places, and thanks to his job, he got to travel once every quarter. Sounds pretty good as well. And all these people, all these kind souls with stories, they elevated my traveling experience to the next level. I was not only seeing the world in front of me, I was seeing all over the world through their stories. Part 2. The Piers. 13 piers, 10 days, 4 cities, a lifelong memory. That's how I would describe our summer Global Field intensive course. We learned together, laughed together, toured together, and grind together. While I was having fun, I was observing and learning at the same time. The takeaway that I got from my peers is as much as I got from the course itself, if not more, for them to be equally rare and precious. I started to study abroad in 2022. Now it has been 2.5 years. But honestly speaking, before this summer, I did not have such an experience of building such deep bond with domestic students. But surely, I have friends from different courses, from work, and from playing sports. But at the end of the day, those relationships usually remain shallow because when we get back to our own life, we have our own group and circle, which we feel comfortable with. And stepping outside of it, surely not feeling good, at least in the very beginning. But this time, we have to live and travel together. And we also have all the time that we need to understand each other. Each time we hang out, each time we eat together, each time we discuss our group project, and each time we play sports, we know a bit more about each other. Our bonds were deepened. And finally, I got to see the other side of the story. Hence this title of the video. As an international student, I've always felt like my talent and skill could not be fully put into use due to all kinds of barriers. Say culture barriers, languages barriers, even sometimes the common sense to local students might be a huge culture shock for us. So sometimes when I feel discouraged, I think about what a disadvantaged situation that we're in. I thought the local students were going through something easier until this summer. Meet Nico and Allison, sports management undergrad students at NYU, both eligible for a Dean scholarship. Great young men and women. Even though they're still in their undergrads, their level of maturity impressed me, and that's because what they have done to support themselves. Nico told me that he got to go to work since high school, even though he has other commitment at the same time. He finishes school in the afternoon and go to the basketball team for daily practice, and right after that, he got to go to the local restaurant to serve. The shift is not short. By the time he got home, it will be almost midnight, and he still got homework to do. Entering college, it became even harder. Now he must earn enough to sustain his life in New York, probably the most expensive place in the world. His parents took a loan for his tuition, but he got to pay it back in the future. We talked about that over dinner. Nico said he might not go out and eat with us in the following days, because his budget was running low. And until then, I finally got to realize that domestic students' life is definitely not easy as well. It's just that the challenge comes in different forms. Man, I guess you guys' life is not easy as well, huh? I said. He took a pause and finished chewing and replied, "Nobody ever said it was." Now you guys know Nico. And about Allison, she has to do the same thing except her parents will pay her tuition. She plays in the NYU women's soccer team and had to work in a restaurant near our campus. But what interests me the most is our similarity and differences. I remember back in high school we learned the concept called control variable in the science class. It means to make sure all the factors are the same besides the one factor that you want to test it out. When I saw her, this concept immediately popped up in my mind. Allison's a Chinese American. Her mom and dad are both from China. So genetically, she's like all the other girls I've seen in China. Compared to girls from other cultures, Chinese girls tend to be more shy and conservative, on average. Allison, on the other hand, is nothing but shy. She's energetic, outgoing, expressive, and brave. She seems to not worry about what others think about her, and she lives and enjoys her life freely. Growing up as a Christian, she goes to church and prays. And I was born in a family that believes in Buddhism. I found it very interesting that we share a common perspective when it comes to some social issues. We talked about China and the USA, from food to culture, from politics to sports, and compare our childhood. It was my first time getting to know a Chinese American family. It was so interesting to find out that we treat some of the things the exact same way and other things in total opposite way. And how can I forget about the other guys? My Greek brother, Michaelis Kyriako, Daniel from Queens, Oren, the guy with no filter, Mattel and Brooke, and my good old friend Zoe. I guess this is the perk of going to this program. You gotta meet people from every part of the world. I will never forget this trip. Part 3. The other side of the world. Paris, Lyon, Milan, Turin, Venice, Florence, Zurich, Interlaken, Lucerne, The Hague, Delft, Amsterdam, Rotterdam. All the culture, food, history, arts, views, and people. I felt extremely lucky to be able to travel to all these places in such a young age, to see different parts of the world. I know that this opportunity is rare, so rare. I might not have such a big chunk of time and funds to travel like this again. So I was observing, listening, tasting, seeing, interacting, feeling, and finally, understanding. I understood that East and West seems to be not all that apart, especially when I saw there are some Chinese painting hanging up in the Versailles. I found out it was because Louis XIV was a big fan of Chinese culture, and he even wrote a letter to our emperor at that time named Kangxi. When we were taking a culinary experience course at Florence, the chef taught us how to make spaghetti. I was surprised to find out that most of the process is pretty much the same as how my mom taught me how to cook Chinese noodle back when I was still a kid. And of course, there are also a lot of differences. Say when I'm sitting in the bar watching a Euro semi-final game, man, the vibe was unmatchable. It was funny to see people's reaction when certain team scores. Half of the audience is angry and frustrated, while the other half cheers loudly with joy. I was neutral, since I've been away from soccer game for almost a decade. But man, when England beats Dutch, Nico was sad and angry, because a big part of his family is Dutch. While at the back, you got a big group of British fans chugging beers. Looking back now, it almost felt like a dream. It was also a trip of nostalgia. Honestly, even if it was my first time being in all these countries, the similar views trigger my memories. I saw a shade of past many times during this trip. When I was sitting by the River Seine, holding a bottle of beer, I felt like I was back in Brisbane. The sun was setting on the river. I got people walking behind me, young couples sitting by the river enjoying themselves. And even the river does the same thing. It was there to witness and listen. And Switzerland feels like New Zealand to some extent. Pure and lush. They all made me feel like I was entering a different realm. It was unreal. Interlaken and Queenstown are almost twins. When you see mountains circle around the lake, when you see the cruise and paragliding, and you went out for the walk at night and accidentally looked up and saw the exact same starry sky, it is hard to not think of your friend and all those road trips you took together. But I guess that's how life is. You're constantly moving on, willingly and unwillingly. You say goodbye to old friends and embrace our new friends. We're like a river running down the hill. Along the way, we might separate into different streams, but eventually, we will all flow into the ocean and join each other again.